Hello and welcome, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. Look, we are going to completely shift your financial paradigm today. We're looking at a fascinating breakdown of how we interact with our own money, and honestly, more importantly, how a single structural change in our habits can entirely rewire our financial mindset. We are exploring the concept known as the pay yourself first protocol. If you've ever felt like, you're working really hard but just not making the financial progress you want, well, this explainer is built exactly for you. Get ready because we are mapping out a crystal clear roadmap to financial clarity.
Okay, let's dive into this. What should you do first when your salary arrives? I mean, it seems incredibly simple, right? You've worked all month, the money finally hits your account, and you have to make a choice. But here is the hard truth. Most people make the exact same mistake every single month. We all kind of think we know what we should do, but our actions often tell a very different story. It's a highly relatable situation, and frankly, most of us get the answer to this question completely wrong on payday.
Which brings us to Section 1, the paycheck mistake, or what we call the default pattern. It is a universal, almost painful reality. You make a decent salary, you put in the hours, but the literal moment the money is there, the cycle begins. The immediate drain starts. Bills, shopping, food, subscriptions. It's an unrelenting wave of outward cash flow. You pay the electricity, you buy groceries, you grab that item you've been eyeing online, the streaming services auto-renew, boom, 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 boom. The spending trap snaps shut immediately upon the arrival of your paycheck. Your hard-earned money is instantly being dispersed to everyone else but you. And then the dust settles. You reach the end of the month, you check your balance, and there is almost nothing left in the bag. Take a second and just let that sink in. It's an exhausting cycle, isn't it? You work, you get paid, you distribute that pay to a dozen different places, and you are left waiting for the next payday just to do it all over again. It is a painful, universal trap. But listen, there is a way out. To escape that trap, we have to move into Section 2, the mindset shift, establishing a new baseline. You see, financially smart people don't possess some magical superpower, and they don't necessarily make vastly more money. They just operate with a completely different baseline behavior when that paycheck arrives. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact difference. The average approach is to spend first and save what's left. That's the trap we just talked about. You pay everyone else, and if there happens to be a few dollars left over, maybe you save it. But the smart approach completely inverts the process. Pay yourself first. That is the core secret habit. Instead of being the last person in line to get a piece of your own salary, you put yourself at the very front of the line.
So what does paying yourself first actually look like in practice? The secret number is 20%. If you take home $4,000, that's $800. Before you spend a single solitary dollar on anything else, before the groceries, before the shopping, before the subscriptions, you move at least 20% of your salary directly into savings or investments. You lock it away. You claim it for your own financial growth before the immediate drain can even begin.
So the crucial point is how you mentally frame this 20%. You absolutely cannot view it as optional. You cannot view it as a luxury. It is the new bill. You have to treat your 20% savings like a mandatory bill that must be paid every single month. Just like you wouldn't dream of simply ignoring your rent or your electricity bill, you cannot ignore the bill you owe to your own future. By reframing this psychological hurdle and treating your savings as an absolute obligation, you guarantee that the wealth building happens automatically.
And that brings us to Section 3, the 50-30-20 rule, a simple framework.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it takes the emotion and the guesswork out by clearly dividing your salary. Once you've secured that 20%, how do you organize the rest? Well, half of it goes to needs, a slightly smaller portion goes to wants, and that crucial slice goes to savings and investments. You aren't wondering where your money is going. You are directing it with absolute precision.
Let's move to and see how this builds if we break it down strictly. 50% is for needs. These are your absolute non-negotiables like housing, basic groceries, and utilities. 30% is for wants. This is where your lifestyle happens, the dining out, the entertainment, the shopping. And of course, the foundational 20% for savings and investments is already locked away at the very beginning. By strictly adhering to these categories, you ensure that your expenses are actually covered by the 80% that remains after you've already prioritized your own wealth.
Finally, we arrive at Section 4, the Golden Rule and its core philosophy.
We've looked at the trap and the math, but the math honestly doesn't matter if you don't internalize the philosophy. This one habit can completely change your financial future. It really is that powerful. It isn't about getting a massive inheritance or picking a lottery-winning stock. It is entirely about reclaiming your place at the front of the line when your salary arrives. That single behavioral change is the foundational stone upon which true financial stability and growth are built.
And I want you to truly absorb this next thought. Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. That is a phenomenal mic drop philosophy. If you take nothing else away from this explainer, let that payload sink in. Reverse the order of operations in your financial life, and everything else falls into place.
Which leaves us with this final vital question. Will your future self thank you? Every time your salary arrives, you have a choice to make. You can fall back into the immediate drain, or you can implement the Pay Yourself First protocol and the 50-30-20 rule. The decisions you make with your paycheck today are actively building the reality you will live in tomorrow. So as you look at your next paycheck, ask yourself that question and make the choice that your future self will be entirely grateful for. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start rewiring that financial mindset today.